Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC TV.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mitchell Lewis. Thanks for joining us. Tonight on North Carolina Now, we'll tour the North Carolina Arboretum, and we'll learn about Fayetteville State University's Cybersecurity Academy. Fayetteville State University's Center for Defense and Homeland Security is uniquely positioned to develop the next generation of national security STEM workforce. The center's executive director stopped by to talk about an upcoming initiative that will address the cybersecurity threat facing the nation. Dr. Curtis Charles, thank you for joining us once again on North Carolina Now.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Now, you are the executive director of the Center for Defense and Homeland Security at Fayetteville State University. Remind our viewers about the mission of the center.
Sure. Well, the mission of the center is to prepare the next generation national security STEM workforce, and that entails both K through 20, as well as soldiers separating from and service men and women separating from the military. We have four foci area. We focus on cybersecurity, which is one, national security challenges, STEM education and outreach, and emergency and catastrophic disasters. So our job is to build that capacity of workforce in terms of training and in terms of research and in terms of going after federal contracts and federal grants.
And today we're talking about cybersecurity, and President Obama had made a quote in 2009. He'd identified cybersecurity as one of the most serious economic and national security challenges we face as a nation, but one thing we as a government or as a country are not adequately prepared to counter. Yeah. What are the challenges we're facing?
Number one challenge for the country in terms of cybersecurity is, if you just take the quote of the president, a challenge to our economic viability. We all, or some of us, may have been victims of the Target hack that happened over the Christmas holiday. You're looking at almost 100,000 patrons. I know for me, I have learned a lot since then. Since then, I refuse to put my PIN code in, so I pay credit for everything. So it changes habits. That's just one thing you could do. But anywhere there is large data, you're a target for cyber. Anywhere there's a weakness, for example, if you're part of a supply chain, what the hackers normally look at is where's the weakest link to get to the larger price. So it is a matter of everybody within the supply chain now have to be conscious about defending the infrastructure, defending the data, as well as being offensive to make sure that they secure it properly. So for most agencies, you're looking at a retrofit. How do I go in and retrofit and think about protecting my system? For new agencies, new businesses starting up, you need to think about front-loading it, as we talk about in sustainability. How can you spend your money to front-load it to protect yourself in the long run? One of the things that's interesting is now there's a whole new industry on cybersecurity, hacking insurance. So folks are protecting themselves by buying insurance not whether or not, but when they get hacked and when they lose that information, at least they will have some security.
Well, looking at the center, what is the center doing to address this issue, and what are some of your objectives?
Yeah, and we look at our partners. So right now, our partners in the region is Fort Bragg, largest neighbor. We're one of the closest UNC universities to Fort Bragg. Every year, there are approximately 8,000 soldiers separating from Fort Bragg. Anyhow you look at those numbers, it says that we should be capturing a large amount of those numbers, and we should provide those soldiers and those servicemen and servicewomen and dependents separating with the type of tools that they need to be competitive. So we look at the soldiers and look at the separating servicemen and women and say, okay, what are some of the characteristics that they have? A lot of them have security clearances already, which is sort of like essential for cybersecurity. They have the business management, they have the project management, they have the skills, they have the logistics, a lot of tools that you need to be proficient as a person operating in cyberspace. So we thought that developing a cadre of certifications that will equip these servicemen and women and dependents leaving the military would be not only patriotic, but it also helps the workforce. We know that right now, by the end of last year, there were 30,000 scientists and engineers who separated from the Department of Defense civilian. By 2020, that number jumps to 60,000. We know that many of the aging baby boomers are leaving the workforce. We need to basically replenish that. So we partnered with the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Why University of Maryland, Baltimore County? They have been doing cybersecurity trainings for the Fort Meade region and the National Security Region, NSA, since 2001. So we wanted to provide a service to the servicemen and women that were heavily proven, that were successful, and had the ability to get us up and running quickly. So we have developed 2 series of certifications. We're going to launch one on March the 17th, the foundation course, and then we're going to take to a higher level, getting penetration into cybersecurity.
How long does it take for the certification?
The foundation certification takes 2 months, and the foundations basically goes through the CompTIA certification. We do CompTIA A+, then we do CompTIA Network Plus and CompTIA Security. Those are sort of like the foundation courses that you need to move as help desk, network administrator, etc., and move into cybersecurity. So that takes for us, we have compressed it. And the reason we have compressed it is because that's what the soldiers have told us. You know, they didn't want something long as a semester. That's not how they think. That's not how they deploy. We need it to be much more flexible. So we compressed the curriculum, keeping the same amount of hours. So right now it's 2 months. We go from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6 to 9:30 for 2 months, and there are 4 Saturdays in between then. So that's the foundation CompTIA course. At the end, we are preparing them to take the national CompTIA certification. Once they're certified, they could then move into employment, and we're working with another company to do that.
Now, I know we've said this before, that the center is rather patriotic in dealing with the military, but can, say, civilians get involved in this certification?
Civilians can get involved in the certification. Actually, the certification right now is open to civilians as well. We obviously emphasize a lot the military because that's our largest customer in terms of student and in terms of being a good neighbor. For example, we didn't want to be only in the business of supplying certifications. Anybody could do that. We wanted to make sure that eventually our professors take over these courses and bring the research-based critical theory behind the teaching. So that is in our plan to do that. But we also partnered with Operation PAVE, which is a subset of Paralyzed Veterans of America, which has been in existence since 1946. I'm of the firm belief that the most you could tell me is no, so I will ask you until you say no. So last fall, I went to Paralyzed Veterans of America, got a meeting with them, and asked them whether we could partner with them. Told them about the certification. They have been doing this since 1946. They have never worked with a university, so Fayetteville State University is the first university that they're going to be working with. So we are basically going to train the soldiers and separating and veterans, and then move them to Operation PAVE and help them. Operation PAVE is then going to work with a large cornucopia of companies and move them into the jobs. But absolutely, the general public open and welcome to join us.
And of course, if they would like to find out more information about the certification program, where can they go? They
could go to the website. They could go to UNCFSU/CDHS, and there's a link that takes them directly to the center. And they could also call the office. They could call 910-672-2006.
Dr. Curtis Charles, Executive Director of the Center for Defense and Homeland Security at Fayetteville State University. As always, thank you for being here, and continued success to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.